Welcome to Cardinal Film Fights. My name is Stuart Elmore, and I am your judge and host, and this is our Season 1 finale. That's crazy. 15 episodes, and we're done until October. Now, if you came for a specific fight, make sure to click in the description below. We have some awesome topics we're talking about, and let's get to our three awesome fighters. We have Bryson coming back.
Hello. I'm Bryson. I am a TCOM senior, so I'll be graduating soon. Holy crap, that's crazy. 2 weeks, T-minus 2 weeks. I'm a second-time debater. I wrote notes. I'm a member of CFF, but I'm also audio engineer for this. You guys have probably heard about me. Heard. Okay. And then
Great.
And that's all you really need to know.
Awesome. And then we have Wes.
I'm Wes Womble. I represent Byte. Yeah. You already know what we do. Let's be real here. We are Ball State's entertainment, tech, and culture news organization outside of the Unified Media Lab. I myself am a TCOM junior. Looking forward, first time fighter. Looking forward to it.
Sweet.
Coming for blood.
Awesome. Then we have. Oh wow. And then we have the Angelo.
I'm Angelo. I'm representing the Reel Deal, which is Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. They like to stress that one and only part. It makes it sound
one and
a
only.
lot more professional.
One and only.
So I'm first time fighter in my life, actually, not a fighter. So
it's gonna change.
I go on and I rant there. So that's the deal.
Awesome.
The Reel deal.
Oh.
This is kind of like our unofficial championship fight for the Ball State organization
bragging
on campus.
Rights.
So bragging rights, stuff like that.
Seppuku.
We get a belt.
Yeah. Is there a belt?
I hope so.
Is there a belt?
Is there a belt?
There's
We
no
can
belt.
make a belt.
There's no belt.
The UML belt.
Yes.
The UML.
Awkward. So thank you guys for doing this. This has been an awesome collaboration.
Thank you for having
And
us.
let's. Do you guys know all the thing about the rules? You have a 60-second introduction with a 5-minute open forum and a 30-second conclusion.
wing
The
it.
last round is double points. And with that being said, let's get to our very first round, and that is going to start right off the bat. Choo Choo, best movie
Choo-choo.
train
Let's do it.
of all time.
Dang.
Do it.
Did you not want to start right off the
No,
bat?
I'm freaking ready.
Okay,
I'm ready.
so I wanted you to go first because, folks, this has been a question that the crew, especially Bryson, have been really, really wanting to debate for some time. So
I like trains.
I eventually caved, and we're putting this in our season finale. So best train, 1 minute. Bryson, whenever you're ready.
Here we go. Yeah, I'm good. All right, put me on the clock. All right, trains. The things that go on the railroad tracks. All right, well, here's
Oh,
this.
okay.
Chew.
It's Chugga.
Shoot. Trains. And there's my train. There you go. I'll hold that up.
Yep.
All right, so this is my intro for trains. Really, before cars, you couldn't really get anywhere without a train. Before boats, no, it was a train. I think Ford messed up by inventing the automobile. We should have just made better trains. So trains are important to our culture. They've been actually a really cool thing in cinema.
What train are you picking,
The
man?
dawn. Oh, snap. Yeah. Well, I was getting that. I was actually getting that. So the train I picked was a train that started it all. I chose a train from I'm not good at French. Chiochati. I'll fix that. It was so wrong. But the first film ever with a train in it and began the legacy. Thank you.
Began a legacy.
The legacy of trains.
The most
Trades
important
in movies.
train legacy, like Tron legacy.
I could tell this is gonna. Oh, no.
Chiotat. That's what it was. My bad.
All right, Wes. Whenever you are ready.
Pronunciations.
My bad.
I am ready whenever you are. All right, well, trains, let's do it. You know what I mean? I'm here to talk about trains. Personally, one of my favorite film trains is from the film Snowpiercer. Actually, the title of the train, too. You know what I mean? Important enough train to have its own film title or its own name in the film title. You know what I mean? How cool is that? You know what I mean? It's based off the graphic novel or French graphic novel. Again, not good at French. I'm going to butcher this so hard, probably worse than you did. It is La Trance Person, something like that. You know what I mean?
Americans are bad at French. Let that be known.
We're all bad at French here. I speak English, some Spanish, but not really relevant. Point is, train. It's centered. The entire film is centered around this one train. The entire film takes place on this one train, save for the last 2 minutes. Incredible film, incredible train. I don't even need the last 15 seconds. I'm gonna leave it there.
Dang.
Wow.
Dang. Unused time.
Yep.
Jeez.
Okay.
Take that 15 seconds then.
We'll add it to his time.
And whenever you are ready, Angelo.
All right, chug a chug. Let's go. Okay, Back to the Future 3, right? Not the best film in the series, not the best film of any questioned here today. However, this isn't about the best movie. This isn't about the best sequence. This is about the best terrain. And I dare you boys to find a train in your movie that can go back in time or can fly, right? Okay, so where does this train get beat? Because this train can do just about anything. It could right all the wrongs of the past. It can retcon the previous movies, a la Back to the Future. And you know, I'm not the best of French either, but Marty McFly was on this train. And that's about enough said right there.
Yeah.
Doc Brown, Marty McFly. I don't need the last 15 seconds either. Cut.
I want to use the 30 seconds that they left off.
Holy cow.
I think we got a lead on him here with the 15 seconds.
Yeah.
I
So,
rant a lot on the Real Deal. That's
gentlemen, let's go to our 5-minute forum whenever you are ready. Just start right out of the gate.
Okay, here we go. Can I go first?
Yeah,
All right.
sure, why not?
I asked.
We don't need
so
15 seconds.
I think, since my train was the first train ever in film, I should go take it off the bat. So this film was made in 1895 by the Lumiere brothers, right? Great guys, pioneers of film history. And so I think this film is so unique because it was one of the first films shown in in a theater aspect to a crowd. The crowd actually, the way they reacted to it was really interesting. They actually, this was a new medium, right? So when they first saw it, I backed up so far from the mic. Sorry. The audience
an
actually,
audio person.
Yeah, I am sometimes. And the audience was so afraid of this train coming at them that a few of them ran out of the theater, and some of them actually had anxiety through this. Because what it is, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's only a 50-second film, mind you, as well. So it's actually brilliant how they created it. It's just a one-shot, stagnant shot of a train coming in from the station. And it's so simplistic, but yet it tells an awesome story, too, of just how mighty this transportation system is. And, so.
Any of you guys got thoughts on that?
That's it. I mean, at least ours are feature-length films here featuring this train. You know what I
Back
mean?
then, that was a feature-length film.
50 seconds. That's all you got. All right, I'm gonna break it down
That's all
for
I
you
needed.
here. All right, so Snowpiercer. In the film, the train for Snowpiercer, the poor low class live at the end of the train. The rich upper class live at the front of the train. This is a film about class struggle. It's really great because it's really well represented with the train. The film moves laterally from the back of the train to the front of the train with the revolt, and it's incredible to see how it's done because not only does it represent motion of the film, it represents camera choice. Every choice that a character makes is represented by looking left to the back of the train or right to the front of the train. Not only that, I mean, they had to create this train for the set. Okay, so this in the film, it's 1,001 cars long. That's a huge freaking train. It holds all of the remains of humanity after this post-apocalyptic event that takes place at the beginning of the film. Now, this train is not only unique in the fact that yours can fly, yours can travel back in time. You ever heard of a thing called perpetual motion, my friend? That's nuts. Have you heard of this? This train doesn't stop, doesn't need fuel, doesn't need anything. You know what I mean?
I didn't hear about the train until yesterday. So.
This is what I would call the best hype train. You know what I mean? It just doesn't stop. Hype trains, they die at the end right there. This train just keeps on chugging.
Chugga.
Now, roughly 90% of this film is shot on this train, on this set that they created. What they did was they
Mine
created...
was 100% about the train.
Okay, you know what I mean.
Mine was 20%, and it was the most memorable still.
Oh, I wouldn't even get... Oh, no. All right, they constructed this train car simulator, which is basically this gimbaled set. It's really cool how they did this, actually. They made it so the platforms mimic the motion of the train, and it's actually really cool how they did it. And not even that, just kind of go back to yours. You picked that train out of all of them. Honestly, if you're going to go for older historical trains, I'd go with the Great Train Robbery. Why? I'm curious.
Good question.
That's so much more iconic.
Yeah. Well, I would disagree because I think my film was before that. And let me get to tearing down yours real quick.
Okay.
So here's this. I don't think we've ever done this before either. But here's a quote from a YouTuber about your film's trailer. Mm-hmm. This goes out to Kenneth Uaben. I said that wrong. But the comment says, honestly, the whole train thing was relevant. It's good for you. This movie is about human nature. If your problem with this movie is that a train makes no sense, you've missed the point. What this movie was trying to do is giving us a condensed version of our world. What I get from this movie is how accurate the version is and how scary it truly is. Yeah, you probably think, I just said something really good about your film. Well, so my film is all about the aspects of the train and how great the train is. Yours is about people living in a society on the train. It's not necessarily about the train. It's about the bigger picture of the train and what the train and who's housed in it. So it's not about the train. The train might be cool, and it's not even a genuine train. It's got all these gadgets and gizmos. And
Real quick, I just want to tag Angelo in here.
Yeah, I was like-
Oh, I've been waiting for the time to strike. Now, you see, for both of yours, you see, yours, a great example, a great historical moment, for sure. However, now, completely irrelevant compared to these two. It was sure it was immaculate at the time. Sure, it's amazing, a technical feat back then. But looking now in 2017, that's really, in comparison to these two, especially, I'm giving props here. Especially, that's
I
out
like
of the
this
question.
guy. Like, you know,
Additionally, though, your films, Snowpiercer, not you didn't write the film.
I didn't.
Snowpiercer,
I'd love to have written the film.
post issues with global warming is what the movie's
Yes.
about. If the Back to the Future train was in this film, you could go back in time and stop yourselves from causing the global warming to begin with.
I gotta say this real quick before we run out of time. But going to your train, 'cause I haven't said anything about that yet.
Yeah.
Trains can't fly. No, that means that your
It's
train
honestly
isn't
more of a
even-
spaceship
It's
at
not
that
a whole
point, like-
train.
It's a train. It's on the train
rocket
tracks.
It's
It's
a
a
rocket
locomotive.
train.
No,
That's not
no.
a whole 100%
That's a
train.
steam engine with a flux
Trains don't
capacitor,
fly.
sir.
And they need a rail to move.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I just like trains.
I get
man.
passionate about my
Oh my
trains.
God.
Who knew that would be the tentest, the most? Oh God. Called it.
Wow.
We're starting off strong, I feel like.
Choo choo.
It only goes downhill from here.
In our caboose.
Okay. Let's start. Bryson, 30 seconds whenever you're ready.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So the Lumiere brothers created this awesome film way back in the 1800s. It was one of the first films ever made, and they chose, what did they choose? They chose to film a train coming in. They could have chose a plethora of things, but they chose a train. And I think that says something about like their creativity and the train they chose. It's a pretty nice train. Your guys', I wouldn't even consider them trains. Like your movie, I mean, yes, they go on rails, but like your movie is more about the society aspect of the film, and yours is a rocket that can fly as well. So it's like, can you classify that as a true train?
Okay. And Wes.
All right, well, here's where I'm coming on for yours specifically. Like, yours, you keep talking about the realistic aspect of this train, which, I mean, honestly, yeah, at the time it was important, but it was quickly replaced by Impressionism in film. You don't really have that argument anymore. Like, I mean, it was gone. Like, Lumiere brothers pretty much, I wouldn't say faded out of existence, but they weren't relevant anymore. For Snowpiercer, you keep saying, like, society was the whole point of the film. Society takes place on this train. How, like, I mean, that's incredible to me. Like, you have the entire world contained within this locomotive. And if that doesn't say something about how important this train is to not only, wow, that was a lot, like, shorter than I thought it'd be. Quick. Yeah.
And Angelo.
So starting off, not only is it a great technical achievement, because in the 1980s is when Back to the Future took place, or was when it was shot and filmed and whatnot. Great achievement to have a model to that size. Great achievement to have them actually shoot a real train for a lot of those action scenes. But additionally, it's great in terms of its practicality, in terms of the fact that it's a time machine, it can fly, and it's a train. I mean, it's a train. And at the end of the day, like I said, we're not talking about the best movie or the best scene. We're talking about the best train. And so I don't know how you beat a time machine train as the best train.
To be said, these are all great trains.
They're all pretty great.
There are no bad trains.
There are no
You're
bad
right.
trains.
I was like, people are probably thinking like, no one chose the Hogwarts Express or the
I
Polar
was
Express.
calling somebody picking the Hogwarts Express.
I think
for
like
this
everybody
fight.
had like it number 2
Poor
like,
Thomas.
for their list. Vaughn, are there any facts to check on
You know
that?
what? Surprisingly, there aren't a lot of lists online of best movie trains. So
Really?
yeah.
No
so,
way.
I do want
No-
to say
no
this,
facts.
and this can't go to my argument, obviously, but that my 52nd film got a 7.4 on IMDb. Kind of cool. I thought it was a kind of cool. fact.
All right.
fact, like-
Usually, like these rounds, like kind of progress, but right out of the gate, I'm really stumped on like which to give first to. So I'm already gonna go to the crew just on thoughts. Anybody have any? Yes, Colin. Just who do you think should win?
Bryson, he fought everyone.
Okay. Anybody else have? Yeah.
Didn't have a folding chair.
Something not particularly against the Back to the Future, because sure it's the train, but it was so minimal in even that movie. Of all the vehicles you can think about, like I would put the hoverboard above the train. You got the DeLorean, the hoverboard.
It's the wrong movie.
Not even no, but all like in the whole series.
Hoverboard wasn't that
Like,
movie.
even then, it's,
Okay.
yeah, it's still a cool train, but also like at that point, I'd probably. Then you got 50 seconds, and then Snowpiercer, like you said, it's not even about like the whole. Like I said, Thomas the Train Engine.
Yeah. Thomas the Tank Engine.
I'm amazed no
Daniel,
one did
do you have
that,
some thoughts?
honestly.
That's probably for the best.
Between you two, Wes and Angelo.
Okay.
I think I'm with Wes on this one.
Okay.
Both of the guys in the back say that Bryson won.
Gee. So CFF people say CFF wins.
Yeah,
Black people
Imagine that.
say- Gee. No
There's
wonder.
no bias here.
There's no bias in this room.
All in all, want to give it to Wes on this one for first place, and then Angelo for second. I think that Bryson, they tore you down with
irony.
And I think one thing was they really did get you on, and you also supported the argument when you said, like, you mentioned first a lot, and so that was sort of, I was hoping for anything more about that. The theater thing about the audience getting like anxiety, that was a good point, but when they just said, like, Impressionism followed after that, and the Lumiere brothers sort of faded out of like being like memory. And then, like, Wes, just like the fact that, everything really does take place in like the thought that, perpetual motion keeps on chugging. The train reflects the choices of the characters and created on set. Just all those points, I got to give it to you first. And then, can you really be a time traveling train?
You can be a time traveling train, and it was.
So, with that being said, that's why I got to give it to Wes, then Angelo, and then Bryson. And that's picture.
I did like that a lot. Even though it was out of order, I loved that.
So Bryson, I hope you got your wish.
I did. I still feel very, very satisfied.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's go to our second round. That was great. This will be worst film cliche.
Oh, here we
And
go.
for this, we're going to start with Wes. Your 1 minute introduction whenever you are ready.
All right, so for worst film cliche, I mean, you've seen it all the time. You have your generic superhero running around. They got their task to do. For instance, we'll take like Liam Neeson in Taken. You know what I mean? He's trying to get his daughter back. Very heroic, very noble cause. However, in the course of the film, he does a lot of, I'll call, illegal things. And he blames the cops for being corrupt. And that's not necessarily accurate. You know what I mean? The reason I really picked this one is, one, I think it's hilarious because you see it all the time in film. Two, like, these cops are just doing their jobs. Like, can I get a film for all those dudes out there, these cops that are just, kind of like going through the day-to-day, and then they're suddenly a superhero or some villain shows up, and they're like dealing with the aspects of this, and they have no idea what's going on. They're just doing their 9 to 5, and you have to come in here like a wrecking ball, like ruining their shop. Like, blows my mind. I'm going to trail off here. That's just...
Okay, sweet. And Angelo, whenever you are ready.
When it comes to the worst film cliche, I think that it often reflects on films that incorporate romance to some degree. And so I picked creepy things being framed as romantic. So like you think of The Notebook, or you think of Twilight, or any of these movies where there is it's all about a romance, a relationship between two people. And so often, because that the directors and the writers and whatnot only have 2 hours, 2.5 hours on a really long film to establish a relationship, they so quickly go to huge acts of showing love and expressing love to really show that these people like each other, when in fact it's super creepy in a realistic standpoint. Like in Twilight, Edward watching Bella sleep, or telling who she can't be friends with. Or in The Notebook, Ryan Gosling within the first 15 minutes threatens to kill himself by jumping off the Ferris wheel instead of her, if she doesn't go on a date with him. And so these things that people look back on and say, oh, this is a really good example of love, of romance, when in fact it's really inappropriate and unhealthy in a lot of ways. So,
Wow, bringing Twilight back.
always.
Can we not, though?
And Bryson.
All right, cool. So mine, you've seen this a lot in movies, especially action movies. It's basically the time where the protagonist, he's doing his thing, kicking butt, but there's like a group around him, and they could easily just take him over if they just work together. But they tend to like just be really nice and attack him one at a time. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And you see this in movies like Jet Li movies, Kill Bill, basically every superhero movie. They just come at you one at a time, and of course it's going to overcome them because he's got the protagonist aspect saving his life. But then he's like superhuman or whatever, and he just takes him out. So like it just doesn't make sense to me. There's so many other like examples of this, and yeah, it's good.
Sweet.
Now it's 16 seconds to spare. Yeah.
And let's go to our open forum, guys.
I'm going to take this one right here. I mean, like, specifically when I was saying, like, Liam Neeson taking films, I was thinking 2 and 3 because it's just mind-boggling what Liam Neeson's character thought he could get away with. Like, he's assuming these cops are chasing him, they're corrupt, but, I mean, dude, you've been chucking hand grenades around the Hagia Sophia for the past half hour. Like, there is no reason why these cops should not be after you. They are doing their job. And then even in freaking 2, he tells his daughter to get on the roof of a building and tells her to chuck hand grenades just to the wind, like, on top of random cars, on passerbys. Like, what are you doing here, dude? Like, and he's just blaming these police officers for literally doing their job. In GoldenEye, Bond escapes the Russian general. He kills soldiers and cops who really had no ties to the freaking villain. I mean, yes, he was kidnapped by the Russian general, but again, there's no reason why they were trying to stop him from stealing a tank and running through a town. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty reasonable. Like, Fast Five.
This animated.
Fast Five. They steal the vault. They're smashing it through like buildings, cop cars, cops, random innocent people, and then one of the characters delivers the line, "Corrupt cops are still after you." And I'm like, why are they corrupt? They're just cops. They're doing their job. You're running through like freaking, I think it was Rio, like just literally tearing through this city. There is no reason why they shouldn't be after you. Oh, I'm done. Like,
You got the passion points. Like,
That's so true.
You see, for both of the ones that you guys submitted for this, I think that the one example, despite not being realistic necessarily, which is definitely not for both of
what
them.
film cliche is?
Oh, that's true. But, however, I think the one thing is that in your specific cases, it makes your characters look better in some way. It makes them look cooler because it gives them positive attributes that like they can take down numerous people, even if it's unrealistic that they would only come one at a time. Or it gives the character some chance of likability so that they're not just blowing through cops and the audience is like, that's a horrible human being right there. Oh, they're corrupt, it makes them a little better. Whereas in these romance movies or in these movies of all kind where there's relationships and they're inappropriate and they're perceived as so right and so healthy and whatnot, it reflects poorly on the characters. It makes them worse. And society thinks that those are normal relationships and that they're things that we should aspire to. Whereas, I don't think a lot of people are seeing those things as certain situations.
I will give you, it's more apparent in your films, but it's still there. Like, you know what I mean? Filmmakers still try and cover up the aspect that, these are romantic relationships. Like, the dude is literally stalking somebody. You know what I mean? That's not healthy, but they play it off in a way that's romantic. They'll generally have some form of like, soundtrack behind it, some peppy, upbeat song, trying to hide it. I mean, it's still there. That level of masking is still there. So
yeah, I think as far as like these crowds trying to attack this guy one at a time, a few examples that I just feel are so ridiculous. I think like this is why it's such a bad cliche. Is you look at like the Ninja Turtle movie, right? And they're over here fighting Shredder, and it's like their mortal enemy, and you think like, oh, this dude has killed so many people. Let's hit him one at a time. And I'm sure like it'll end up okay. But he ends up taking him out. I just think that's so ridiculous. And even at one point, Donatello and Michelangelo even instead of attacking them both at one at a time, they play rock paper scissors to see who's gonna go first. It's like you could just attack them. And then
a fine example of filmmaking.
Yeah, there you go.
I know. And then Power Rangers too. Like you think of Power Rangers, they're always like coming at them one at a time. And there's like hordes of people. They could just take them all out. And not only that, they actually form a circle around the heroes and attack them one at a time per Power Ranger, right? So they each have like their own moment of fame, which is I think is so funny. And then as far as like your guys's, like they're both like terrible cliches, but I feel like the definition of a cliche, I actually looked it up per definition, right? It says a phrase or opinion that is overused and betrays a lack of original thought. I think going from this definition, I believe that mine, like, and this is obviously debatable, that's why we're debating it, but it happens more often than yours. And so, like, you see it more, and there's so many action movies out that, like, this happens, and even not even in a true action movie, you see this in other genres. And it's just this weird thing about people, I don't know, just group up.
Yeah, and I disagree, though. I think that mine is still the most common.
If you're going to argue that, I would actually give it to him,
because
too.
Because not only in romance movies is that a thing, but also in action movies. And these things where there's almost always romance in movies. That's like the one thing that, as a whole, is probably cliche, that every movie has to have some sort of love triangle or relationship or romance of any kind.
Right, but yours is specifically creepy romance, and that doesn't happen in every single movie.
Here's the thing, like mine may not happen the most, I'll admit that. Mine is probably the fewest out of yours too. But here's the thing, is like when mine does happen, it's almost a glaring plot hole at that point. You can't overlook it. Like yours, you can kind of maybe push it aside and be like, that was a little weird, but I'll keep watching for the sake of the movie. Yours, it adds to the character, you know what I mean? How badass is it to see a dude take out 10 dudes one at a time in like some cool like sequence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow, that got really bloody. I love it. Let's go with Wes on your conclusion whenever you're ready.
All right. Again, I already said it. Mine doesn't happen most often, but it is a glaring plot point. Yours, I mean, yes, it does happen a lot, but again, they really do try and play it down. You know what I mean? They make it try and seem like this isn't really as bad as it seems. Whereas mine, they don't even acknowledge it half the time. Yours, I mean, again, it adds to a character. How badass was it to see like Ip Man, for example, take on 10 black belts? You know what I mean? And God, I can't remember which iteration that was, but one at a time. Like it was just this incredible sequence, and you can get some really cool shots from those and sequences. So.
All right, and Angelo.
Okay, so not only is mine really relevant in a lot of movies, but it has societal ramifications. It makes people think that this is normal, And honestly, the filmmakers themselves, it'd be different if it was cheeky or tongue-in-cheek or something like that. But instead, so often, these are their best attempts at making people seem like they're in love. And, there's examples of, I always think of, Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield in Amazing Spider-Man, right? As poor as those movies could be. They're actually a good example of romance and these kind of things that so many filmmakers jump to these huge conclusions and are creepy.
And Bryson.
Yeah. So I feel like with mine, it could be, a lasting impact on people who are in groups and they decided to attack somebody one at a time. I don't know. Why would you do that? If it's I get cinematically, that makes sense, but because you want to give the protagonists their time, but it's not realistic. Go at them. If you're gonna take out, if it's the bad guy, you don't want to let him live or let him go be free. You want to take him down. So.
Wow. All right. Any facts to check on that, Vaughn?
No.
Negative.
All right. This one, I think I have a first place ruling, and that is to Angelo.
I would have said the same thing.
Woot woot.
For sure. I mean, just the fact that, each viewers at least at some point does build up the character, and I think that you initiated the argument. I think you even use that on his because it's it's agreeable. It's something that that's why filmmakers do that, and the fact that then on going back to yours, it reflects poorly. So I think, especially for the more common point, Angela definitely has to get first. Now, in terms of second is where I'm kind of stuck. If anyone has any thoughts on that one, it'd be greatly appreciated. Doesn't look like people have thoughts. So.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I think in terms of the argument that it occurs in every action movie, when considering I think that argument got brought up, I think Bryson had a great point on that. And while I think maybe in terms of out of placeness, maybe the corrupt cop cliche is a little bit worse, but in terms of being repeated in almost everything.
And that was something that's because I have that written down, and not as for each individual, but as an overall sort of atmosphere of this fight is people were throwing out more examples, and then there's some people just throwing out arguments for why they may only have 2 movies brought to the table, but those 2 movies that do show those prime cliches are just really bad. If we're going by that and we're going by the effectiveness of this cliche, I think I got to give it to Wes for second place. Primarily, even though you were probably the one who listed more movies, you did kind of those had a point. That was the fact that these cops are just doing their job. If a tank's going through a city, don't bash on them for being the bad guys. And Bryson, I feel like you kind of ran out of steam, especially in your conclusion.
Yeah.
It was kind of got to the point where it's it's right though. It's
Lost all the steam on the train question.
Why would you do that? It's I get it. Why would you do that? But other than just that, you can vent about people's decisions, but at some point the scene eventually goes away and the protagonist does something else and you kind of go over it. Whereas the cop thing, it's that happens multiple times in movies and it has a lasting effect and a plot hole. So with that being the case, and those were arguments you did make, so I have to give Wes second and then Bryson third. So
good stuff.
But that was really hard, guys. You're not making this easy for me. So
Go team.
all right,
Look at us.
for round 3, best battle sequence. I'm going to love this. So let's start with Angelo with your 1-minute introduction whenever you are ready.
Game of Thrones has had a bunch of action sequences, a bunch of great ones. Every season, their 9th episode is typically known for a huge battle sequence. However, I'm going to give it to Battle of the Bastards, which is one of the newest episodes, the penultimate in the last season that came out. And some amazing things that Battle of the Bastards did. First off, HBO is about as close to big screen as you can get on the small screen. However, it is on the small screen in comparison to your guys. It's on TV. And it costed a little over $10 million to do it, included 500 extras and 70 horses. And that's in comparison to your guys, when adjusting for inflation, those are both more expensive movies nowadays, those battle sequences, with $72 million for the entire film and $18 million for another. So they did it with less money. They made it look amazing and dramatic. They experienced the highs and lows of war. You had the catharsis of finally the big bad guy that you've been going after for years is finally getting defeated, but you also see defeat. You see characters that you love die. You see, the lows of the war and you losing and then coming out on top. I think it has a great 3-act structure.
Awesome. That was a good intro. And Bryson.
Yep. Here we go. So picture this. So William Wallace sitting in front of his Scottish army, right? And then one of his veteran soldiers comes up to him, and they're about to take on the English army. He says, fight against that? No, we will run and we will live. As Wallace says, I fight and you may die. Run and you'll live, at least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance? Just one chance to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they will never take our freedom. And that speech right there set the entire tone for the movie. And you look at William Wallace from the beginning as a kid to where he is now in this scene, and you think of, man, this guy's been through a lot. And he single-handedly led the Scottish army to this amazing battle at Stirling. And this not only is historically grounded, but it's one of the greatest battles in history. So yeah.
Awesome. And Wes, whenever you're ready.
All right, the first 24 minutes of Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan is dedicated to the Omaha beach scene from Normandy. This throws you unexpectedly into a battle that you have no idea what's going on. You have no idea who these characters are. You have no idea what's happening around you, leaving you frightened and confused and honestly suspenseful for the rest of the film. The impact of this battle scene is not only felt throughout the rest of the film, it's felt throughout our nation, you know what I mean? We don't really have good footage of the Normandy landing sequences, and this honestly serves as one of the best representations of it. Not only is it historically accurate, from a film standpoint, it's incredible, you know what I mean? It's damn near up there with like some of the best film sequences of all time. There's not anything that can be said that already has been, you know what I mean? Like,
wow. That's good. Yeah. That's good. Not much words for seeing. I mean, all your guys' battles are like definitely very, very memorable.
Very disgusting.
Yeah, very disgusting. And can't wait to get into the open forum. So whenever you guys are ready, let's get down to it.
Cool. I'll start with a quote here. So there's
another one.
Another quote, right? I'm all about quotes.
Are you saying anything that's your own?
No, never. So I looked up a few articles about this, and on AskBen.com, there's an article called Top 12 Battle Scenes, and Braveheart was number 2. And one of the description.
Sorry, carry on.
You're poop.
Quality debate here. Cardinal film fights, everybody.
The quote says, "We can thank Mr. Mel Gibson, and Braveheart's success for many of the historical epics that are in cinemas today." So I really feel like that the battle at Stirling and Mel Gibson's interpretation of that actually really influenced your guys' debate or films as well. Especially maybe the Battle of the Bastards, since they're very similar.
More similar to his.
Yeah. But I can definitely see Spielberg taking a little bit of that and saying, "Oh man, this is so inspiring. Like maybe we can use this for this."
Spielberg actually didn't really take much from that film. Honestly, he actually looked at genuine film from World War II. He looked at what all the battlefield cameramen were doing. One thing he noticed was there wasn't much film, obviously, during the battles because cameramen were more focused on staying alive. So he saw a lot of the beginning and the end after the battle. But the few things he did see from battlefield camera perspectives, they were very low, very shaky, very consistent, and he mimicked that very well to the point where in this 24 minutes there are only 200 shots, each shot averaging 7.2 seconds in average. Each of them are all very low to the ground. You move from either close-ups to wide shots all the way through. It's incredible. Like, the camera work is very fluid, yet it gives this impression of like structured confusion, of chaos, you know what I mean? And it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's this feeling of suspense. You don't know what's happening. I mean, death is just being handed out so quickly and so undiscriminatingly. Like, it's chaos.
I feel like the one thing that Battle of the Bastards holds, besides for the fact that it's more modern and whatnot, is the fact that it stands alone as an episode, whereas your battles that you guys have both named are parts of movies. And so the thing that Battle of the Bastards gets done is that it has a 3-act structure, like I said. You get in the 25 to 30 minutes, you get the rising action, you get the climax, and you get the resolution. Whereas your guys, it's kind of, especially Saving Private Ryan, it has one tone throughout because it sets up the rest of the movie. Whereas a Battle of the Bastards in particular is an entire battle, in its entirety, and then it ends.
I don't see how that's really relevant, though, because this is a film. You said it right there. It sets up the tone for the movie. Yours, yes, is a smaller structure, so it has to be that smaller time frame, I should say. So it has to be that 3-act structure as quickly as it can be. Mine has the benefit of setting up the tone throughout the entire film. It says, this is what we're going for the rest of the film. This is how we're going to run this. You know what I mean? It keeps the audience on their seat. It triggered literal PTSD in soldiers who watched this. That's the emotional impact that it had on not only actual soldiers, but other people. They were freaking out in the theaters when this first aired. I was when I first saw it. Like,
Now, mine, in contrast to yours starts out with that, but mine, you follow William Wallace throughout his entire life.
Yep.
And it adds a more emotional impact for him. And people who haven't even seen the movie can recount a lot of the speech that I kind of introed with. And you hear, like, it's for freedom, right? And it's like this, and the beginning with that speech before the battle, like, you just get pumped. I think
it sounds more like you're arguing most iconic speech than it is.
But because of the emotional aspect of that speech, it led into the battle, actually, and like it made the audience so much more attached to the characters. And like throughout the battle, all this commotion's going on. You're feeling for these characters that are dying in front of you. And at the end, when they come out on top, these underdogs, you're like, this is what I watch. This is why I watch this film, and this is a genius.
I think that's something that hinders both of your battle sequences, though, is in Saving Private Ryan, the opening sequence, it tries to show you the reality of war. You know what I mean? In yours, yes, it shows you what the war aspects might have been like, especially yours too, like what they might have been like back then. You know what I mean? Which is all well and fine, but they had driving characters behind it.
Tell them that Game of Thrones
to.
didn't actually happen.
You know what I mean? You're following these characters, and that's the attachment the audience has, which is why they care for these battles. The reason they care for Saving Private Ryan is because this is what war is like. You know what I mean? No one really had a good idea of what battles were like at that point.
In terms of attachment, though, I think that we have upper stances because we have characters that are established. They don't care who they kill.
And mine is also ingrained in history as well, like the
Wow.
Clock sticking down.
All right. So I believe round 3 we started with Angelo. So let's go with you for conclusions whenever you're ready.
So for the conclusion, I just think that Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards, it really does well at the whole picture. It starts off, you get the triumphant feelings at the end. You get the low feelings in the middle in which you're uncomfortable. You feel suffocated when the characters are losing. You don't know who's going to win because you've seen the bad guys win so often. You've seen them be victorious, and you've seen the good guys suffer and die. Jon Snow died already in that show by the time that episode had aired. And so you just never know what's going to happen. And I think that battle encapsulates it all perfectly. And I think it has a perfect 3-act structure that's really well done.
All right. Bryson.
All right. So with Braveheart, we follow William Wallace, and we follow it through his life as a kid into his adulthood, about to lead this ragtag Scottish army into facing the unbeatable odds of the English army. And he's got to somehow encourage these guys to win this fight. And so the speech goes into the battle sequence, and it just sets the mood for the whole thing. And it's just bloody, but it's amazing. You get so connected to these characters, and by the time they win that battle, you are screaming at the top of your lungs, freedom. Let freedom ring.
What? Okay, and West, to finish us off.
Honestly, with Saving Private Ryan, I don't think you're going to get a more iconic battle sequence in anything in film ever. I mean, like, this thing is just so iconic. I know you said you haven't even seen it, which breaks my heart a little bit, but it's so visceral, it's so real, it builds the suspense, it builds the rest of the tone for the movie so perfectly that I don't think it can ever be recreated again. I'm leaving it there.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Vaughn, any facts check on that one?
Yes. So Angelo had some stats about the Battle of the Bastards, saying that there was a $10 million budget and an extra count of 500, which is correct. I was curious if there were similar numbers for the other scenes, so I looked it up, and the Normandy beach invasion scene had a budget of $11 million, and the extra count was over 1,000. And then Braveheart's, I couldn't find a budget for that scene specifically, but
the whole movie.
their stunt budget specifically was $1.5 million, and the extra count for that scene in particular was between 1,600 and 2,000.
Holy cow.
Oh, and also Bryson was right. The Battle of Stirling was number 2 on Askmen's top 12 battle scenes, but the Normandy beach invasion battle was number 1.
I was going to leave that out.
I was going to, well, I almost like said, like,
by omission.
wait a minute.
Proven my point for me.
Taking, like, just judging out the side, I just remember, like, what was Spielberg's movie before Saving Private Ryan? It was, like, Jurassic Park 3, wasn't it? Or one of the Jurassic Park movies?
No, that was like 2001.
Or Schindler's List. Or, yeah, probably, but, like, this, it was just something
before,
that,
but I don't think it was the film before.
yeah, I don't
It was
know.
definitely before it. But.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just, like, when you go into a Spielberg movie, you don't ever expect, like the first scene, I think, is, like, when the doors open, an entire boat gets slaughtered.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you see. So, and I remember they also, like, had, like, counselors go to theaters for, like, people. So just a lot of, like, background, like, Saving Private Ryan is just hard to debate for you two guys. It's a really, really hard one to debate. A lot of stakes into that one. You all had really good points, and I'm definitely gonna have to go to the crew for this one. But as of right now, I'm kind of leaning over to Wes, but I would like others' thoughts with that.
Yeah, I would agree with Wes as well because you think like say that the opening scene, it's parodied, it's imitated all over the place, and that kind of shows how like iconic, memorable, and how great it is.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think I'd also give it to Wes, but a close second to Angelo because I loved his point about the fact that the episode has a 3-act structure.
I did too.
I really
yeah.
liked your battle sequence, honestly.
Well, I mean, I think I think a lot of you guys like also put Battle of the Bastards too, which is it. I know you said like characters all died. I'm like, rest in peace, the giant. Sorry, spoiler alerts, but but
I punched a horse. I mean, that was just bad.
yeah, I think without it's especially when you went to the point of the cinematography. I don't know any of that stuff. That's awesome, and that just adds to your point even more. So I have to give Wes first place, and I'm sorry, Bryson, but I also have to give second place to Angelo as well.
Coming back.
Just because, like,
Don't call it a comeback.
the 3-act structure alone for the Battle of the Bastards, and when looking back to that episode, because like I've seen all your guys' battle sequences, is like you're right, that does have like an intro, a middle, and an end, and you do get to see those awesome like characters that you've wanted to see dead for so long. That Game of Thrones is a thing where like they don't kill off those really built up characters that you want to see die. And finally, I mean, it's been a spoiler show, but I'll just be like, when Ramsay Bolton like gets it, like I think it's the episode after that, right?
No, it's that.
It is that episode.
It's the end of that
I don't know if
episode.
that was the finale or if that was one before.
Sansa
The
walks
credits, yeah, like the pre-credits.
It's like, just that was
parts
like
though, yeah.
everybody like whether you cheered for Battle of the Bastards more or if you cheered for that scene alone, you're like, oh yes.
Stuart, if you were curious, Spielberg's film that came before Saving Private Ryan was Amistad.
Oh,
Yeah,
did not know that.
Cool.
fun fact.
It's one
From
probably
the fact checker.
yeah.
Fact checker.
What do you know?
But that just goes to the
break
point
brought
like
to you
this
by
was
Mike.
like a complete turnaround for like a Spielberg film.
Yeah.
Like just no one expected that. Okay, so now I think this is fitting for round 4 to be our last round for the season 1, but this is going to be best series finale. So yeah, for this
one.
we are going to start with go back to Bryson. Whenever you are ready, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to be debating Parks and Recreation. I think this is an amazingly crafted and made TV show. And just how the characters interwoven throughout the series, you really get to know them, know their lives, and you kind of feel for them. I know I was attached to a few characters. I'm like, I can really relate to you. And so to accumulate that into an ending, I think that the creators did a really good job at tying loose ends, showing the characters in kind of achieving their goals, what they wanted to do. And then also giving us clarity as an audience at the end. I thought, I was like really happy about the ending. And yeah, so.
Nice. All right, Wes,
Trades.
whenever you're ready.
All right. For me, I personally chose Vikings season 4 as the best series finale, although not the traditional series finale. There is another season coming. It wrapped everything up so nicely for season 4 that I felt it deserved the title of series finale. You have all the characters' storylines ending nicely. You have all of them culminating into the main characters, at least throughout the past 4 seasons, that you would come to know and love. That they wrap their stories up so nicely, so neatly, so well done that not only is it a nice send-off for them, it's a welcome introduction to the new characters coming this next season. So, yeah.
Awesome. Welcome to the next season. Just going to write that down. And Angelo.
So I
whenever you're
picked Breaking Bad for my final. And the best thing about the finale is that it did everything right. And with these great shows, these historically great shows, you look at Seinfeld or Roseanne or Lost or any of these that all have infamously bad finales, or even like The Sopranos with the controversial ending and stuff.
Yep.
And for Breaking Bad to end on such a high note after being such a good show for 5 years, something like that, it's such an amazing accomplishment that people don't look back and see that they nailed the ending. They don't see something to look back and critique. And it had everything that Breaking Bad did right. It had highs and lows, just like the Warson I mentioned earlier. It had humor that you didn't expect in the beginning. It had grit. It had rawness, and it had comeuppance for bad guys again. But also, it wasn't too fan favory. Just kind of like Game of Thrones does in a lot of ways. Where Parks and Recreation, I feel like specifically, it had so much going on, and it really, as great as it is, it kind of, okay, here's this. You get everything you want. Where it's like in Breaking Bad, you don't get that because that's not how it works. And, I think that they do that really well.
not too favory. That's what I've written down. Awesome. So, for the last time, let's go to our 5-minute open forum, guys.
Oh, that's so emotional. I don't like you said that because it's true.
Showed who's boss.
So whenever you guys are ready.
So, I've never seen Vikings season 4. So.
Neither have I.
I feel like series finale already has more of an impact than season finale. I feel like it's pretty hard. Even the best season finales, with Game of Thrones, most recent one being one, with all of these incredible season finales, I feel like the punch for series finale is really just so much more substantial. I feel like it puts characters in more place. I feel like it's more impactful. And I feel like it's more significant because that's the end. They're not going to come back from that. Whereas Vikings, it could be an incredible season finale, but that's not the end of it. They could have time to, if it wasn't great, they could redeem it. If they do things that are incredible, they could retcon things around.
Here's the exact reason I chose season 4 specifically, or not specifically. It is the last season to release, so I kind of had to. I was forced into a box there, but. Season 4 specifically, you see pretty much the end of almost all of the older characters throughout the past 4 seasons. It's almost an entirely new cast for season 5. You have all of the older character storylines wrapping up with the last few episodes of that season. Specifically, a few of them die in this last episode of season 4. You have spoilers, by the way, if you haven't seen it. All over. You have 2 characters, Floki and Helga. Helga being Floki's wife. Helga has always been. I know, right? Helga has always been a character that has grounded Floki's in the sense that he only has 2 other characters that do this. His daughter, who died in season 2, and Ragnar, the main character of the show up until season 4, who died 5 episodes prior. Massive spoilers.
I've been making up these
There's going to be spoilers with this round. So.
Everybody does in Parks and Rec,
Floki at this point... Floki at this point says now, what I am now is nothing. What he essentially accepts that everything he cared for, everything he longed for in life is gone. It breaks him as a man, ultimately to the point where he throws himself fully into his religion, the Norse religion at the time, and will commit to it in a future season. You see Ragnar's sons, the ones carrying on Ragnar's legacy after he died, setting up the next season, but at the same time, there's this air of bad blood between them. You know what I mean? They all want to go on their separate paths, but ultimately, they're divided. They can't agree on anything, to the point where Ivar kills one of the other brothers, Sigurd, at the end of the episode. You have so many more things contained within just this episode, and I haven't even got to it yet. King Egbert, the English king you follow from the beginning of season 2 to the end of season 4, honestly, Ragnar's rival throughout the entire season, and not just character importance, but in terms of acting ability. He's incredible on screen. The character, he brings it to life. It's incredible to see. And it's just this heart-wrenching death of King Egbert because he takes his own life, ultimately screwing over Ragnar's sons in the process.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
Kind of switching over. I think one of the arguments to me was that there's a lot going on in that episode, and you're completely right. But I think that there has to be with such a large cast, and I think that they did it so well with tying together all those loose ends with that. You see Leslie and Ron, and they're the whole premise of the last episode is building or rebuilding a swing set or a little swing. I think that's so true of just the whole. I don't know, series itself is just fixing small things as you go and climbing up the ladder as you go, and you see Leslie kind of growing up and going into her into her work and everybody kind of going on with their lives, and it just, I don't know, you just have this great feeling at the end where I know for Breaking Bad, yes, I think that show had to end that way, and it's you get that anti-hero, but with a show like Parks and Rec, I don't think it would make sense to end like that. So I think
it does well for a sitcom, I guess, in a lot of ways. But you see, the thing about Breaking Bad, in particular, in comparison, the way that they're narratively structured, is that Breaking Bad has such a coherent A to B storyline in that episode. I feel like the way that they do that, the way that they manage to bring back old characters, the way that they manage to bring back the Ryson and these characters like Elliot and Gretchen, these people you haven't thought about in years, and manage to make them seem like they fit in so well and make it seem like they're not out of place. And like I said, that they're not going back and just trying to give the fans what they want and answer all the questions, kind of like Lost or any of these shows that kind of force them down your throat. It all seems so natural and it all seems so appropriate for the episode. And I think it works really well.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And kind of just throwing out some things I looked up on articles and stuff. Vaughn, here we go.
Just that's time to shine.
Yeah, here, this is it. I looked at Screen Rants, the 20 greatest TV finales of all time. Parks and Rec and Breaking Bad was on there. Obviously, this is series finales, right?
Yeah.
And then E! News, best and worst TV finales of all time. Breaking Bad was number 3, Parks and Rec was number 2. TV guides, best and worst finals ever. They were on that as well. And then I also looked up a bunch of series finales or season finales, and Vikings wasn't on any of them.
Yeah, I think that series finales has a lot more impact. I think
does.
that,
Yeah,
especially with both of them, how high of acclaim they were, finishing on a great note is really important.
I agree.
Wow. All right. So
Buzzer beat.
let's go to our conclusions. Let's start with Bryson.
Yep. All right, let's do it. So Parks and Rec, I think as an audience, you grow so attached to these characters. And I think that the creators do such a great job at tying all the loose ends together and making you feel like this is the ending that I wanted from the get-go. You see all your favorite characters get kind of what they want. I know it's like that nice story, and it's the kind of opposite of Breaking Bad, but it's just really nice. And then as far as I guess I would say that with Parks and Rec, I can't say more good things about it. I don't know.
I know it's going to be good.
It's so good. Just
feel
love
it,
Ron.
the energy.
I know, you're right. Yeah.
Yep.
And Wes.
Well, yes, not a traditional series finale. The season finale of Vikings Season 4 is incredible. It's nothing short of that. It wraps up all the older storylines neatly, tightly, to the point where you feel satisfied with how they ended, and ultimately leaves you wanting more with the new characters coming in. Not only that, it is honestly one of its advantages. It's not a true series finale. I can get more when I want it. You know what I mean? I just got to wait a little bit. So I think that's the best thing about this is every series finale leaves you wanting more, and I feel a season finale like this does it well.
Great. And Angelo, finish us off.
Yeah, no, I feel like in terms of Breaking Bad, I think they do a really great job of making sure there are no loose ends. And I think that they do it in a way that, again, they don't have a lot of questions left out there. I think they're all answered. I think that they're not done in a way that feels too forced. I feel like it's done in a very cohesive way, a very normal way, and I feel like it's well done. And I feel like it's just how it should be. The bad guy gets his, comeuppance, but then the good guy also gets his, what he's due in a lot of ways. And it finishes off an acclaimed series in a brilliant way.
Wow. All right. Vaughn, I know there were some things thrown out at you.
Yes. Okay. So Bryson was correct about the Screen Rant and E-News list. Parks and Rec is number 20 on the Screen Rant list, and Breaking Bad is number 3. On the E-News list, Breaking Bad is number 3, and Parks and Rec is number 2. And then I found the IMDb ratings for each of these episodes. The Parks and Rec episode is a 9.7, Vikings is an 8.8, and Breaking Bad is a 9.9.
Oh, man. Okay. So a few decisions I do have. I'm sorry, Wes, but they just ran over you with that. And one thing when we discussed this round is we wanted to include the most recent season finale, because there really are only a few series finales you can choose from in terms of the best. Because just to be honest, a lot of them do flop.
Yeah.
So when you look at the ones that are good, we wanted to include that additional most recent season finale. Therefore, Game of Thrones was up for grabs, but nobody picked Game of Thrones, or at least everybody put in the number 2 or something like that. Yeah. So. And what's really gets down to it is it's so hard to judge between Parks and Rec and Breaking Bad, because
so different.
They are immensely different shows. Bryson, you even admitted you get that the big point for Breaking Bad is, yes, you don't get everything you want, and yours you do, but you admit that, and you also say we grow with the characters. We do with Walt, but it's an interesting aspect. It's
even the shows that are so different. Like I said, the narrative structure of those 2 episodes are so polar opposite in terms of it being flashes of the future, and then this just being one coherent narrative. It's so different.
Yeah.
So it's just apples and oranges.
I have the hardest time judging this. So one last time, I gotta give it to the crew. Sorry, I keep saying that, but.
Sad.
I think it's really hard, but the one thing I would have, and it'd be it's a weird thing to take away from the Breaking Bad one, but the best episode in that season is Ozymandias, and it's
interesting.
In terms of a show really coming to a head. The episode afterwards is all right, and then you get to the finale, but they could have just ended on Ozymandias, and that would have been. They could have wrapped it up on the next episode, and I think there's a weird play in between that.
Interesting.
So it's one of those things, I think that the wrap up, the finale it also does a little too much service. I think especially when you get to the very front part of it.
It is epilogue-y in a lot.
And one thing I do want to add, and this this doesn't just this isn't to like bash down yours. It's like I know one point was like, you don't get everything you want, but at the same time, like Jesse does get free. Walt is getting sick again, so like he is basically gonna die. So he does die at the end. He kind of makes amends with Skylar. So just kind of a few points. No one said that, so I can't really count that against you. But that's just one thing to think and put in mind. But I know you had other thoughts. No.
I was actually leaning more towards Parks and Rec because at least it was a bit different. Honestly, it's probably the only one I've actually watched.
That's what's hard about
Breaking Bad, man?
That's what's hard about this question, though.
It's really.
I think it'd be overrated, honestly.
See, I agree with you because, like, when you're watching it, you get closure for all the characters. Like, you know what happens to them in the future. With a lot of these season finales, you don't know what happens to them, and it's, like, up to you to, like, interpret it. But, like, with Parks and Rec, you were able to see, like, Leslie fulfill her dreams, like, Larry or Jerry or whatever his name is.
Larry or Jerry.
That's like the epitome of his character.
Respect.
Harry.
To me, I feel like it's a good season finale.
Also, one of the points you made is you said you would never see any of these characters again. We have Better Call Saul now, so.
Oh, true.
Yeah, but you don't even see Saul in the last episode, though. And you don't see Mike in the last episode.
Again, there's that finale, like,
You haven't seen one of them, though.
Like, Parks and Rec's done.
Gus, Mike, and Saul aren't in the finale, though. So
It's true.
So
It's all very interesting points. Because you could throw in a lot of other things. It comes down to it comes down to the arguments. It doesn't come down to like what we like more, or it really comes down to like what are the arguments.
I'm gonna give it to Vikings.
All the way.
Sorry, man. I think
The comeback. Don't call it a comeback.
Numbers don't matter. I don't think if
I don't even know either, but I think because they are so very different. But Bryson, I did get a lot of the closure that you were trying to show that Parks and Rec got. I think you were very passionate about that, and he might have had a few more arguments, but I could sense that this show really does come to such like a closure of all the characters. Like I remember one thing when you look at Parks and Rec is you always think of The Office. Like that's just nobody wants to think about that, but we always have to. And so you think of like season 9 as being the most rushed ever, and then whether the finale is good or not, like it's okay for what the season 9 was. Whereas Parks and Rec, I got the vibe that like everything is prepped right and it releases right. So with that being the case, I got to give Bryson with first place, Angelo was second, and then Wes with third. And with that being the case, but great job, guys. We're just waiting on some score tally. But once again, I do want to thank Wes from Bright and Angelo from Reel Deal. This is an awesome collaboration we've been working on for a while. So this is so.
It's very close, but Angelo wins with 11 points. Wes comes in second with 10. And
So
It's so good.
just by the points, congratulations. Reel Deal once again gets to hold the belt for Cardinal Film Fights. So we don't have a belt. That was something
I could really use a belt.
Season 2, Cardinal Film Fights.
Yeah. So with that being the case, we're just gonna wrap up here. I want to thank you guys very much for a job well done. That was an amazing fight. You made it very difficult.
Have we done? Can we pimp our stuff?
That was what I was gonna get to.
Gotcha.
So
There we go. We're even.
so thanking you guys again, and also just give you an opportunity to give you guys a plug for your guys' stuff, things.
Okay, I was gonna say you can go first. But, no, Byte. We do a crap ton of stuff. So we do. We have our reviews, features, news. We have our podcast videos. All of these are produced fairly regularly. Almost coming out with at least a few a week. Specifically, what I do, I'm the associate video producer, so I work a lot with our video segments, one being Checkmate, which is our weekly news segment, and Does It Suck, which is kind of a review-based podcast. We'll do, or not podcast, but episode. We'll do movie reviews, video game reviews, pretty much reviews of anything. And then there they are. I mean, you specifically, Stuart, were on one for Logan, so
Yep.
there
Not a
was
few of your
that.
guys, I think. Yeah.
And then you were also on the podcast Input 2 that I host for Logan as well. So we do a lot of different things.
Also
honestly,
wrote a Pentatonics review for you guys.
Yep, there you go. So you can check out all our stuff on bytebsu.com. We also post on the Ball State Daily website now. We're on there. It'll just depend on if you have to scroll through entertainment to find out our articles, but our writers are there. We also post our podcasts on our SoundCloud, iTunes. We'll post a few of them on YouTube. You can find us anywhere. Just Google Byte BSU. Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Facebook, whatever you need. So yeah.
Awesome. Check out the stuff. And then Reel Deal.
Make sure to check out The Real Deal. Like I said, it's Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. Bit of news, bit of opinion, all that stuff. A lot of comedy, a lot of stupid comedy. You can find us at The Real Deal on YouTube. You can find us at Twitter at Reel Deal BSU. And check out our website, realdealbsu.com. And just make sure to tune in. We have podcasts that go up every week. We have episodes that go up every week. And it's a lot of good content.
And I also did actually an Oscar special with you guys.
And he was fantastic.
Which was really fun to do. Good to rant about a couple things. So we also going to have your guys' links in our description below. So guys, check Byte and Reel Deal out. They do amazing stuff in the description below. We got the links to like websites and things like that. So please do that. Wrapping up here, I know this is our last episode, but if you still have questions or things you want us to debate, give us a comment or DM us on Twitter. You know, we have a Twitter at CardFilmFights. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and if you like today's fight, share us on social media. So I do want to give a thanks to a couple people and groups here. Firstly, I have to thank the crew, Vaughn for fact-checking, Morgan for timekeeping, Sarah, Daniel, and Colin, and Nick, and Isaac, and Bryson, of course, everybody in the back, everybody who's been a huge help to us. I just got to give a huge thanks to all of you guys for sticking with us all this time. This has been a crazy journey. We started our club officially kind of last semester, but we really got off the ground this year. Really happy with where we turned out, and I'm excited to see where this group grows. We need to thank Ball State University. Something dropped. It's fine. Making a emotional speech here, guys. But we need to thank Ball State University for providing us with the resources that we are able to use for this amazing show that, you know, kind of just thought of in a class at one point, and we're here doing it today. So we got to thank Ball State's faculty and services for that. And lastly, I want to thank the audience. You guys have stuck with us and got such a good fan base going on. And we can't do this without your guys' awesome support and views for our YouTube channel. And go visit that. Go visit our website. And lastly, join us next October for Season 2 premiere. We will be back, and we'll miss Bryson. He's going to be graduating. So cue the sad montage. We don't have a montage, but it's fine. With that being said, check out all of our other episodes, Tongue Twister, and we'll see you next October. Bye-bye.